Good afternoon, everyone. This is Congressman Lee Zeldin. Thank you for joining my live small business telephone town hall on the ongoing coronavirus outbreak on Long Island and assistance available for small businesses that are affected by this outbreak. If you have a question during the call, dial *3 at any time. Now, thank you for participating this afternoon. We're joined by Robert Poyhoda. He's the branch manager of the Long Island office of the Small Business Administration, and it's good to have an expert on the line for all of you today with regards to your questions and comments, so I'm grateful that Robert is here. Last week, the Small Business Administration issued an emergency declaration making economic injury disaster loans available to small businesses and private nonprofit organizations in the state of New York, including Suffolk County. This action was taken following bipartisan calls for this declaration from myself and other elected officials serving within multiple levels of government. I'll let Robert get into the specifics, but basically these loans offer up to $2 million in assistance per small business and can provide vital economic support to small businesses to help overcome the temporary loss of revenue. These loans may be used to pay fixed debts, payroll, accounts payable, and other bills that can't be due to the disasters that can't be paid due to the disaster's impact. If you're just joining us, this is Congressman Lee Zeldin discussing federal assistance available to Long Island small businesses. And as I mentioned earlier today, we're being joined by Robert Poyhoda, the branch manager of the Long Island office of the Small Business Administration. You can press *3 at any time to ask a question. Late last night, the Senate passed the latest coronavirus response package that included an additional $367 billion in small business loan assistance. Additionally, small businesses that keep paychecks steady between February 15th and June 15th, with the help of this new assistance, could get up to $10 million of small business loans forgiven. The House will be moving this legislation tomorrow morning as of now so that we can get this critical assistance out to you all. We must do everything we can to ensure that our small businesses and the Long Islanders who rely on them emerge stronger than ever on the other side of the coronavirus outbreak. Again, if you have a question at any time during the call, press *3 to ask a question. Now I'm going to bring in Robert, who can give us an overview of the federal assistance that is currently available through the Small Business Administration and details on eligibility and the application process. And thank you for being with us this afternoon, Robert, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, sir, and good afternoon, all. It's been a trying time for all of you, and there's probably nobody more important to our society and Long Island as small business owners, their families, and their employees. So my comments hopefully will address a little bit of explanation of, at least from the SBA's perspective, of sort of what's been going on, what I've been doing, and my team has been doing, and what we expect in the near future. So first of all, I'll repeat a couple of things as the Congressman mentioned. First of all, you listen to somebody who's a Long Island kid. I came from Mineola, spent a number of years in the Army, was in corporate America for a number of years, and I had my own small business outside of the state for a period of time. So I'm well grounded in the culture here on Long Island. So I'm particularly savvy to everyone's keen interest in speed and efficiency here. So I make my comments with that firmly in mind. But as the Congressman said, this is what's in place right now by the Small Business Administration is something called it's an Economic Injury Disaster Loan. You'll hear the acronym EIDL, E-I-D-L, which sometimes it'll be referred to. But the point is that was the initial phase, and the process that brought us there. Not that it really matters much to a number of you, but there is a process that has to occur, and New York actually went through the process fairly quickly to get county executives involved, and folks like your congressman activated, and so it was alerted, and the governor made the critical step of declaring an emergency. So that basically flips a switch and empowers the SBA to do what it does. Now, just a little explanation. The SBA, Small Business Administration, about 90% of what it does is to help small businesses start, grow, and expand their businesses. And quite often that comes in a couple of ways. One is through technical assistance, helping business owners do a better job of what it is they're doing, or how to start a business, and also how to get access to capital during normal times. That comes in the form of guarantees, which I won't get into right now because that's not really the issue. But occasionally there is a point where the SBA directly makes loans to business owners, and that typical occurrence is during the time of an emergency. Many of you don't have to think too far back to think of times, for instance, Sandy hit Long Island rather abruptly, and it put a lot of people in harm's way, business-wise and other ways. At that time, I was actually running the Small Business Development Center located in Brooklyn, so I'm very familiar with the sort of the process, the good and the bad of that whole experience. But that's the phase we're in right now. This is an emergency. Just bear in mind, like a lot of firsts associated with the coronavirus, this is a first for this SBA in its response, where there's going to be a disaster declared in every single state of the union, which means it's never been done before. And obviously a lot of you have never had the experience of what's going on now. So it's a first in a lot of areas. So the challenges are many. There are some prescribed solutions we have in place. However, it's never been tested to this magnitude. So I'm getting to the next phase here. We are here at this point with the economic injury disaster that was activated, certified by the governor and the SBA last week. A number of you have applied. A number of you are in the process of investigating. And in the middle of all that, we've had some challenges with amazing site traffic and a couple other challenges that are impeding the progress of applying for this. So let me just cover a little bit what you may want to know about. And anybody that needs follow-up information on the process, you can certainly contact my office or a Small Business Development Center near you. We have two excellent ones in the proximity. Stony Brook University is the home of the Stony Brook Small Business Development Center. They have a staff dedicated to pretty much every small business need, and they are ramping up to handle the many questions and nuances of this particular disaster. Like a lot of you, they're being forced to work remotely. So their process is one where people call in, and you can access their contact algorithm through the New York Small Business Development Center website, which is nysbdc.org. And I'll have that posted with our team after this is over. But the point is, if you need help, there's help to be had. However, there are some things that are still coming unfolded here. So, but the primary way to apply for one of these disasters, economic injury disaster, is online. That is the primary way. And as Congressman Zeldin mentioned, right now the top loan you can get is $2 million. And that is, again, based on need. And as you apply for this, you got to think about what is going to be your need for a 6-month period of time. That's the sketch or the thumbnail approach here. You can ask for more or less. And again, the purpose of this particular EIDL loan is it's designed to help you pay fixed debts, payroll, accounts payable, and other bills that you can't pay because of the disaster's impact. We all know businesses, and it might be yours, that all of a sudden the door's shut and there's no revenue coming in. Well, how are you going to help pay for some of your critical folks? How do you handle some of the vendors that are knocking on the door? How do you pay the rent, et cetera? So that's what this is designed for. So you'll be submitting documentation that will help substantiate your need for those kinds of funds. It'll be dispersed kind of like a line of credit. If you apply for $2 million and we're approved, you're not going to get a check for $2 million. There's a process and an algorithm by which you will be dispensed funds based on your application. So it'll be periodic draws upon your approved amount. That's the game plan. And again, the interest rate is going to be 3.75 for small businesses. And if you are a private nonprofit, the interest rate is 2.75. So I don't know who's listening. I know a number of you are, and rightfully so. But I have three words that I would suggest as a former SBDC director and as just a business colleague of yours. The three words I recommend regarding this particular loan application are apply, apply, and apply. And I say that with tongue in cheek, but many of you will say, well, I'm not sure if I need it. I'm not sure if I want a loan, or maybe something's better is coming down the pike here, given whatever comes out of Washington, D.C. in the next 24 hours or so. And I certainly understand that. Having been through the Sandy experience, sometimes better money is available, better terms, or who knows, maybe it might even be a forgivable grant, a forgivable loan or a grant. My guidance to you is apply for this EIDL. If no matter what, if you think you can qualify for it, apply. If you're not sure, apply. If you know downright that you'll never get it, I still recommend you apply. The reason being, this takes in good times, this kind of loan would take about 21 days to be approved. After that, maybe another 5 working days before the money is dispensed. So you're looking at, in good times, a month before the cavalry shows up in terms of capital here. So if something better arrives on Monday that is more conducive to what you need to get help, you do not have to accept this funding. If you apply and you're approved, you can turn the capital down. There's no fee to apply. The only really investment to get this type of assistance is your time. I've spoken to a lot of people firsthand, and it has been a challenge. The application is not all that intuitive. And the reason for that, I won't go into great detail, but because of the magnitude of this, they kind of made a composite application process. It's great, it works, but to the uninitiated, sometimes it causes a snag on the website. Superimposed on that, there has been some website slowing down due to just sheer traffic. It has been shut down because it's been revamped, and it's not really cruising along at top-notch speed currently. I will offer you a workaround here momentarily. I've been advising the people that call me directly for the past 48 hours. I recommend you print the forms out, the PDFs, and you submit them online. There is a portal now that is functional. You can you can basically from your computer scan your forms that you need to scan to include things like your tax returns and your personal financial statement and those items, and then you can download those on the site that's available now. You cannot apply online now from scratch by typing in your application and then just clicking a button. That right now, that capability doesn't exist. Or what I've been sort of recommending, and you can do this, is you can print everything out, sign it, copy it obviously for your records, and then mail it. So that snail mail might make sense because when you do the math, with the current way the U.S. Postal Service works, maybe it gets to Fort Worth, Texas by Tuesday or Wednesday. For those that are going to just try to wait out the online version, it may not be conducive. So you have a choice. My father-in-law does everything with pen and paper. He doesn't believe in putting anything online, and maybe this is one of those situations where it is well placed. On top of all that, some of you may be aware that there has been not only was there a slowdown on the website, but there has been a report of it's unclear exactly to what degree, but there has been some cybersecurity concerns. It's unclear at this point exactly what transpired, but believe that's why the site was shut down, and all possible action has been taken to mitigate any problems. But that's all I have on that right now.
Great.
So,
and Robert, if where does somebody download the application, and where do they send it?
That's a great question. So, you can well, first of all, there's a couple of let's talk about the documentation you're going to need. So for every business owner, no matter what, you're going to need to submit a completed SBA loan application, which is a Form 5 or a Form 5C. And I'll cover a little bit who does what on that. You will have to include your IRS form, which is a tax information authorization form. It's a 4506T, like Tango. That basically allows the IRS to confirm that the tax returns you're sending in are in fact yours. Anybody 20% owner or above or more, you'll need to submit most recent copies of your federal income tax return. Also, you'll be including what they call a schedule of liabilities, your SBA form 2202, and a personal financial statement, which is the SBA form 413. And what I will do, I've sent copies of this to the congressman's office, and I'll repost as needed. You could also find it on SBA_New York, our Twitter site. Now, to your point, where can these be? They can be mailed, first of all, hard copy to the following address. It's U.S. Small Business Administration Processing and Disbursement Center. That is located at 14925 Kingsport Road. That's in Fort Worth, Texas, 76155. So
and
that's where
to download the application form, is this correct? disasterloan.sba.gov.
Close. Here's a better version of that. So it's one word: disaster loan, disasterloan.sba.gov/ELA/. So you have all these forms to include your documentation you need to have included, and it's on the computer or your flash drive. You go to that site and you can download this at that site, and off it goes. Now, the next logical question is, I don't know what my status is. I sent it yesterday, or I sent it on last Friday. Where is it? There will be an email process, and there will be an online way for you to check to see what your status is. But this is not going to be approved for a good 20 days. But you don't want to sit there thinking, well, Rob said 21 days, I'm good. No, you need to be checking online with the SBA, and there also is a customer service number that you can call, and I will tell you right now, it's a wait. So this is a number you call, ideally not at prime time hours, because it's hopping. But the SBA's customer service center number that can help you find out your status, if you haven't got an email, you can't find it online, is as follows: 800-659-2955. So
and we
now that's
a lot of really good information. We also have a lot of questions. Are you ready to start taking some questions?
Yes, please.
Okay, all right, we'll go to Patrick. Hello, Patrick. We can hear you.
Hi, good afternoon. I employ about 45 people. I'm effectively out of business right now, and my question was the specifics. I've been watching, I've been glued to TV and news on this about loans that would be converted to grants if you keep people on payroll. And I'm wondering, is it a portion of payroll that the business must pay out of pocket themselves, or it is entirely funded in the loan that or grant? Is that clear? Does that make sense?
Patrick, it's very clear, and unfortunately, this is the new phase of the disaster program. I don't know the specifics on that, and I can tell you right now, I probably won't be able to answer that question exactly until at least 24 hours after the ink is dry from Congress.
Yeah, it was interesting. At the beginning of the week, we scheduled this call for Thursday afternoon, and at this point, you should have been 24 hours after the bill was over the finish line in order to be able to have that particular answer. But do you have any other questions for Patrick, or do you understand specifically what he's looking for?
I understand exactly what he's asking, and I just cannot answer the question right now. But believe me, we will create a fact sheet of these salient points and get them out as soon as feasible. Once we understand exactly the verbiage and the letter of the law.
Okay, we're gonna bring in John. Hello.
Yes. Hi. By the way, thank you for your work out there. We really appreciate all the efforts. I'm a small business owner. I'm in the construction industry. However, many of the projects are starting to dry up. I have many technicians that frankly don't want to be exposed in New York City. And I do have a bit of a cash burn leaving the staff on board. And so, I wanted to know what the minimum threshold is. Is it based upon, like my capitalization? How many assets do I have? What do I have in the bank? What are the metrics? What's the minimum threshold for a company like mine?
Well, there really is no minimum threshold. As long as you are a small business, you're eligible to apply. What they're going to do is massage the documentation you send in. They're going to identify, what your burn is, what your float needs to be, and they will make a recommendation and an award based on that assessment. And there will be some give and take if you feel I need more given the circumstance. But I don't have the exact underwriting guidelines in front of me. But this, again, I would say if you know what, as far as the categories I mentioned, like as far as what your fixed debts are and your payroll, if you can figure out what 6 months looks like, you want to definitely, you'll probably be in that range. And again, $2 million will be the max. You've got a fairly substantial size business. I don't know where you're going to fall, but it's a little bit, it's difficult for me to pinpoint exactly what you're going to stand to gain on this.
Yeah, and you say $2 when you say $2 million, you're referring to the emergency declaration from last week. You're not referring to the stimulus bill that just got passed, which is going to have the higher the higher threshold, the higher amount that people can take out in the loan, right? That's the $2 million is you're referring to last week's emergency declaration.
That's exactly right. That's
right.
The only thing I can really put my arms around right now to address for you, unfortunately.
Okay. Thank you, John. And Mark?
Hello?
We can hear you, Mark.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. I have so many questions. This is, of course, so overwhelming. Now, my first question is, if you don't mind, I have a couple of questions. This might help everybody. But also, I'd like to say how much I appreciate Mr. Zeldin that you're stepping up and trying to help small business. Small business is the backbone of our economy. I actually work in the microeconomy. My customers are all small businesses. I'm in the advertising businesses that publish a monthly magazine. But my question is, first of all, is that I had already last week on Friday, a day after it was available to me, I filed that SBA loan, the disaster loan. It said it was pending, and now when I went to check on it, it's disappeared. In fact, one of my comrades, a fellow business owner, said his was obliterated. The system crashed, and they lost it, and you have to refile. So the question is, do we continue to pursue that, or is this like a brand new game, and we forget about that and start fresh? That's my first question.
The first look, I would say no. We don't just let it assume it's gone. I would, if you could, email the congressman and maybe his staff can forward it to me and let me run it down. If it happens that it did somehow disappear with a website crash, then yeah, we'll have to start over. But I don't believe that's the case. If you got it in when you say you did, I believe your username and ID is on file, and it's in the ether space or in a computer. But I just can't say it right now. But please follow up with me or the congressman's staff following this. Let's run it down, and that goes for other people online. If we have a list or however, I can certainly elevate it to where it's got to go.
But now, just if you don't mind me asking again, you said to go to disasterloan.sba.gov, but then you said something about a /.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I did say forward. It should be a backslash. It's disasterloan.sba.gov /ELA, Echo Lima Alpha /. Now, some people may go on there and it's not going to work. You need to clear your history and clear your cache on your computer. I apologize for that, but that's just the way I've been told seems to be a workaround. Also, if you can use something other than Chrome, it might be in your best interest. But I was told this is functional right now. So just clean out your cookies, your cache, your history, and give it a shot.
Okay, so I should just start from the beginning. Now, I already have, so there's two forms that have to be filled out, the 2202 and the 413 form. Is that correct?
Correct, and of course the application itself.
Right. Now, I hope you don't mind if you can indulge with me for a minute. In terms of determining how much funding I need for 6 months, is that based on I'm operating or I'm not operating? Obviously, those two things are different because one, with me operating, I have direct cost of sales, which is my printing and mailing. And then the other one, of course, is all my fixed overhead, my payroll, and so forth. So how is this figured? Is it figured as if I am operating and then I'm just getting, I'm getting some backing while I ramp up and operate again, or I'm out of business for 6 months and I need X amount of dollars?
They're going to be looking at the money you would need to maintain your business. It's not replacing revenue lost. It's replacing. It's designed to help you pay those fixed costs that are going to happen if people come through the door or not.
Okay, I'm sorry. I know.
Ben, I could help answer that question as well as one or two of the questions before, just to add a little bit of context, a little color to it. So what you were hearing from Robert was with regards to the $2 million loan because of last week's emergency declaration. What Congress is passing now, as far as the stimulus package that the Senate passed unanimously last night, I'm going to give you some guidance on that specifically. So as far as who is eligible, you have businesses and 501c3s with less than 500 employees. To answer the question you just asked, what can you use the loan for? It can be used for payroll costs, group health care plans, employee salaries, interest on a mortgage obligation, rent, utilities, and it can be used on any other debt obligation occurred before February 15th, 2020. As far as where you can get this loan, any existing SBA lenders and any lenders that are brought into the program through the Department of the Treasury. How much can you borrow, which gets to part of a prior question. And this is, again, what you were hearing with regards to the emergency declaration from Robert was up to $2 million. But as I pointed out earlier, the threshold under this new bill passing through Congress is higher. So the answer to how much you can borrow under this new bill that passed the Senate and that the House is taking up, the maximum amount is the lesser of $10 million or 2.5 times the average monthly payroll based on last year's payroll. As far as how long it would take to receive the money, the SBA has authorized lenders to process, close, and service loans without SBA approval, giving you the means to invest in your business immediately. What if you can't pay it back? First, all payment on principal, interest, and fees will be automatically deferred for 6 months. Second, for businesses that retain their staff up until June 30th, 2020, the loan will be forgiven. The question, can the entire loan be forgiven? The answer is no. Only the portion of the loan that's used to cover payroll costs, mortgage interest, rent, and utilities can be forgiven. And in addition, only 8 weeks can be forgiven. All this information that we're sharing here on this call, if you have any follow-up questions, my office number is 631-289-1097. That's the phone number for my office. We can get you, we can repeat any of these answers that I just provided, and I'm sure as we go through the remainder of this call, we'll be discussing some of this again. But just to answer, not just Mark's question just now, but to add a little bit of color and context on some of the prior questions, I wanted to give you that. And we'll go to Joe.
Can you hear me?
Hello, Joe. Yes, I can.
Okay, yeah, thank you for taking my call, and just thank you for everything you guys are doing right now. So my question is kind of similar, but on a smaller scale. My wife and I have been operating our own small business out of our home for about 20 years now. This is our only way of income, really. And we are an S corporation, and we don't have any employees. We just operate just the two of us here, husband and wife team. And my business is in my house. If I lose my house, I lose my business. If I lose my business, I lose my house. So, with everything that happened, my business just came to a complete standstill. We were doing, booklets for horse shows, programs for fire department, dinners, movie theater tickets, menus for restaurants. That's everything I had in the shop when this whole thing happened. And we just came to a screeching halt. So some of the work that I have would be able to continue and pick up after this clears up, but a lot of it is gone for the year until next year, like the horse show printing and all that kind of event type stuff that we do. My question to you is this am I going to qualify for some assistance being like a small S Corp working out of my house like this with no real payroll of employees? It's just my wife and I.
Well, for the Congressman was very quick to point out we're talking about two different programs here. But the one that is already in existence currently, yes, you definitely qualify. I encourage you to file. You would be filing the form 5, SBA Form 5. There's a Form 5 and a 5C. Sole proprietors fill out the 5C, and Form 5 is going to be for everybody else. I want to take a quick second to mention this loan that is in existence currently, the $2 million max. That there is automatic deferment on that as well. People that are approved and start taking their draw on the money, the first payment is not due on that until the 12th month. And also a key point about that particular loan is it's 30-year term. So do the math. I mean, if you spread any loan payment out over 30 years, it's going to make it relatively affordable. Again, no loan is fun, but it's tolerable. But again, I just want to point that out. But thank you for that question.
Okay, thank you to Joe. Karen?
Congressman Zeldin, I can't thank you enough for, first of all, everything you have done for our veterans, and God bless you. I have two questions. One, may be ridiculous. H-2B visas, you know how important they are out on the east end of Long Island with workers. Is that like on complete hold? And the other one is my employees are already on unemployment, and they come back to work April 1st. Done this for 35 years, been in business. And does this hurt them that they're already on unemployment and I can't bring them back, or can they still qualify? I'm worried about my employees. I hope that makes sense.
As far as the H-2B piece, we have questions as well, and part of this has to do with where the labor is coming in from. This is an evolving issue based off not only where the person's coming from, but also whether they're a returning worker. And some countries, there are restrictions from traveling here that will be factored into this process. Quite honestly, we have Americans who aren't able to get back to the U.S. right now, and I had a call with the Department of State on that to try to get people who are U.S. citizens back to the country. So, as far as this challenge, it's not just it's not just the workforce piece and getting individuals here in time. We also are dealing with that challenge too. I would recommend reaching out to my office at 631-289-1097. We have people on the staff specifically working on issues related to movements in and out of the country on a constituent case-by-case basis, whether it's a business or it's a family trying to get their loved one back from Peru, for example, which is an issue that is challenging congressional offices right now across the country, as I could tell on yesterday's call. So the answer with regards to the H-2Bs, I haven't heard of the program stopping, but based off of where the labor is coming from and whether or not they're a returning worker on a case-by-case basis, the best thing for us to do is to just have you call our office. With regards to the second component, with regards to individuals who are already on unemployment and how that would impact them, that's a good question. I don't want to shoot from the hip here and give you an answer that I'm not 100% sure of. But what I can say with regards to the new unemployment that was just that is being approved by Congress, it's expanded in the amount of money that people are getting paid, and it includes it's explaining unemployment to even more types of workers. So you have self-employed independent contractors. I know this isn't part of your question, but just for others on the call, gig workers, Uber drivers who wouldn't usually qualify for unemployment. The bill's providing $250 billion in funding for the expansion of unemployment benefits, which is the largest increase ever. With regards to people who are already on unemployment, I would venture to guess that they will benefit from the expansion. However, I would prefer to double-check that and triple-check that myself before I'm giving you that answer 100%. So I'm just going to tell you what I'm guessing the answer is going to be, but I will double-check that. And again, if you wouldn't mind reaching out to my office, we'll get you confirmation of exactly what the impact will be for people who are already on unemployment. And one other alibi related to that point, but also something that I brought up in response to the last caller, is that the employee count, the maintenance of the number of employees, it's actually based off of a head count. And if you have a new employee coming on board and that number is added to a returning employee, what the government is looking at as far as maintaining your workforce, they're looking at the overall head count. But please reach out specifically on the H-2B visa piece, because it varies based off of country, your own place in the application process, and as well as whether or not they're a returning worker. And we'll get you a firm answer as far as the individuals who are already on unemployment and how that impacts them, and how that would impact you. Michael? Hello, Michael?
Hello?
Yep, we got you.
Yeah, thank you for taking the call. Appreciate your efforts. We try to jump the gun a little bit. I have a small business. There was a gentleman by the name of Joe who called. I have a similar engineering consultancy business. We do marketing consulting, and basically I'm dead in the water right now, and not much happening. My question is this: we jumped the gun a little bit, and we filed the application on Wednesday. But we filed it by. We could see that it was very difficult to maneuver through the website. So we just basically got the information, downloaded it, filled it out by hand, and we sent it in. And yeah, so we basically got the materials, the application, sent it in, and you're in receipt of it. Or the SBA is in receipt of it. I guess tomorrow, they said it would be there tomorrow. So the question is, there was nothing on the forms that indicated a requested amount. So I was just curious. We're curious about that. So I'll end my question. And thanks again for all your efforts. Appreciate it. And onwards and upwards.
No, that's a great question. Yeah, thank you very much. That's a great question. And there is no space for you to put down how much you are requesting. You're exactly right. But by your documentation and your cash flow, as evidenced by your various support documents, they're going to come up with a number, and they're going to, in your communication. Again, the rule of thumb is it's designed. They're going to be looking at what would be an amount that's sufficient for a 6-month hiatus. And there's going to be times when some of you out there are going to say that's just unacceptable, and there is going to be a give and take. But you did okay. You didn't miss anything. It's not on the form, unfortunately.
Okay, and thank you for the question, Michael. Did that answer your question?
Information.
I'm sorry. Say it again.
Yes, it did answer the question. Thank you.
Okay. All right, great. We're going to go to Joe now.
Is that me?
We got you.
Okay. Hi. Thank you again for taking the call here. Appreciate that. My question was, I have my personal business is a medical management company, and then I have 6 medical offices that we manage. So I'm assuming that for my business, obviously I put one application. I'm going to have to go and put applications in for each of the other businesses for them, and I'm assuming that I can do up to $2 million per business.
Yes, if they're distinct businesses, and absolutely. And of course, on your form, you'll list yourself as an affiliated business, those 6.
Okay. Okay.
Great.
It's great. It's a great question, and that's for people in your situation. They have relationships with others. Maybe a husband-wife team. The husband has a 20% ownership of the wife's business, and vice versa. You just got to list yourself, and they're gonna figure it out anyway. But that's not a problem. But yes, $2 million per business.
Okay.
All right, thank you for the question, Joe. And now we'll go to Ben.
My call, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have a couple of quick questions. I started I run a small business. I'm in the laundry linen service business on East Long Island. I take care of hotels and restaurants on the Two Forks out here. And I started to fill out the disaster loan assistance application online. I have a disaster loan application number. I assume now with the system being revamped that I have to restart from scratch. That's the first question. And the second question is, the legislation that was passed last night talks about a SBA 7A, Section 7A loan program. That one I would apply through for my bank, or do I apply through that through the SBA?
Well, before I turn over to Robert for the first part of the question, what the guidance is that the members of Congress are getting, understanding the implementation of the new program, you'll be able to get the loan through any existing SBA lenders and any lenders that are brought into the program through the Department of Treasury. And the recommendation that members of Congress are being told to tell constituent businesses is to talk to your preferred financial lender to see if they qualify. But I'll turn it over to Robert as the questions he asked apply to him.
No, thank you for the question, and that's very insightful, right on, spot on as far as the Congressman's comments. But do you have to start all over again with the application? No. If you've registered the business and you've got a distinct user ID and that kind of stuff, you can print the application out. Yes, you want to resubmit it, but you can put down your user ID because it probably already went through, and if not, they'll assign you a new one. So yes, you have to redo. I would complete the forms and load it up and send it to the website I gave you earlier, just to make sure. Or you can mail it. And you mentioned a 7A loan. Outside of these crazy times, there's an SBA type of a product, a guarantee where business owner gets large amounts of capital for putting towards their business growth and expansion, and it's called the 7A. Why 7A? I have no idea where the name comes from, but it is a SBA guaranteed loan. This new wave of money coming out of Congress, empowering the SBA to guarantee more loans. It's the forms I've been talking about throughout the earlier process are all forms you're going to see again. So if you are familiar with them, you're going to see them again. It's just standard fare for the SBA functions. So it's keep copies of everything, because chances are if you apply for the second round, if in fact Congress allows you to apply for both, it'll come in handy.
Thank you, Ben, for the question, and we'll go to Jennifer.
When I was on the site, hello?
Hi,
Can
Jennifer.
you hear? How are you? Quick question. Thanks for your help. When I was on the site earlier in the week, it was pretty clear that if you had other sources of financing available to you, let's say you own commercial property, but there's no mortgage or loan on that property, that you would not qualify. Do you know if that's still the case?
Jennifer, I wish you were. I wish it wasn't during these times where I could actually shake your hand for asking that question. Disregard that. That was standard wording on other types of emergency type loans. That does not apply here.
Okay.
So don't. But thank you for bringing it up for everybody's benefit.
Okay. So if I apply and go through this whole application process and the property does not have a mortgage on it, no money is owned on the property, it won't throw the application out.
I want to be careful. I can't say, boom, you're approved, but you're right.
Right.
It's not going to be a disqualifier for that reason,
Okay.
yes.
Terrific. Thank you so much. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you, and thank you, Jennifer. We'll go to Mary.
Hello?
Hi, Mary.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well.
Thanks so much for doing this because, the small businesses are really suffering out there. My question is just in the past or historically, when small businesses applied for SBA loans and accepted them, it made them ineligible, possibly, for other types of aid, such as the stimulus package that's coming down the line. Is that the case with this? I don't know if you know that answer, and if it's possibly the case, at what point during the application process does the business owner have to decide, okay, I'm not going to go forward because I have to wait and see what else I could be eligible for, and are they going to have time factors in order to be able to make those decisions?
Mary, thank you for the question. At least from my perspective, this is a standalone piece, the injury disaster loan program. So, if you had another disaster loan from Sandy and you're still paying that off, this is on its own. It doesn't matter. You can still apply for this and be approved for this, even if your combined total exceeds either one's total. It's certainly allowable. Now, addressing can you do both this and what's coming down the pike, I cannot answer that. I tend to think you will, but I'll let the congressman put his add his color to that one.
Yeah, no, I'm not aware of anything to add to that at this point.
Okay. Well, it's just probably a consideration for a lot of small businesses. They don't want to go down this process
and I think,
yeah.
Go ahead.
They just don't want to go down. Nobody's going to want to go down this because that stimulus package has parts of it that do not have to be paid back. And obviously money that you don't have to pay back may be more beneficial for small businesses than necessarily a loan that they have to pay back. But then they may need more money. So what I'm saying is it's all going to be part of a consideration for a small business.
Right. And Robert, correct me if I'm wrong, just because I want to understand what you were saying earlier, and that's why I'm going to be careful of what I add to it. If somebody has applied for the up to $2 million loan, up to what point of the process can they choose to switch over?
Okay, well, at any point in time, they could be say your check's in the mail, and if you choose, I really don't want that because I got a better opportunity over here. It's like a line of credit. If you don't take it, you're not going to be charged for it. So I did get some guidance from above, and the best word I can add to this, Mary, is you'll likely be able to take advantage of both this process we're talking about, the EIDL, and what they call the P3, which is the Paycheck Protection Program, which was a change, I guess, from our earlier bill language. So I can't tell you definitively, but I suspect you can use both. And yes, you can. If you've taken a payment already from the EIDL, you'll have to address that in repaying it, but you don't have to take the whole line. No.
In my opinion, it would make sense to allow someone who applied for the up to $2 million loan to be able to also benefit from this new package that is out. And as far as the administration implementing the congressional language is going to become law here over the course of the next couple of days, I'll work on getting confirmation from the administration as far as that decision of how it'll be implemented. But in my opinion, it would make sense for them to implement it where if you went all the way through the process for getting the up to $2 million loan, for you to be able to benefit from the more generous loan that comes with the loan forgiveness. I'll go to Marie.
Hear me?
I do. I can.
Yes.
Okay, great. Great. So my business, I started about 18 months ago and funded the startup for my own personal, loan against my retirement. So I'm not quite seeing a profit yet. And I knew that in the business plan, but this is totally rocking us, completely off our axis. What's the likelihood I'd be approved for a loan even though I haven't shown profitability?
Thank you, Marie, for that question. Just curious, have you made money? Not a profit. Have you generated revenue?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Yeah,
yes,
apply,
absolutely.
please. In other scenarios, people say, "Well, I have to be in business for 2 years before the bank will even talk to me." In this case, if you've generated revenue and your documents show, what your cash flow has been, while it may not be profitable just yet, absolutely apply.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Marie. And go to Rita.
Hey.
Hi, Rita.
Hi. Thank you, Congressman Zeldin. I live out here on Long Island, and I want to thank you for all you've done for us. I'm actually calling because I didn't know you were talking about small businesses today, but I called in, and actually my son-in-law has small businesses, and I'm trying to keep up with all this wonderful information. It is very difficult. Therefore, my question is there, can you post on your website all of or give it to us, all of the websites from the small business loan to the stimulus loan to the name of the loan, because I have so many notes at this point that I wouldn't know where to begin to tell him, and I'm sure he's looking already, but I thought I would help him out. And since I was on the call and he isn't, because I happen to be the one that received the invite. So I would appreciate that and how we can access those websites.
So I'll say a few things, and then I'm going to ask Robert just to repeat the website from the SBA side again. So my website is at zeldin.house.gov. On our website, we have a page dedicated to coronavirus response that we have been updating, and I know that my communications director is listening in on this call. She's been doing a great job keeping that website updated, and I would request on behalf of Rita and others who are listening for us to add the SBA website if it's not there. If it's not there already, the website, which you'll hear Robert say again in a moment. And I mentioned earlier in the phone call the phone number at my office, which is 631-289-1097. But I would also encourage you, for anyone who is on email, to email me at congressmanzeldin1@mail.house.gov, congressmanzeldin1@mail.house.gov, and we'll be able to share some information. And before we get off of the line here today, I'm going to just recap some of the highlights, some of the summary of the new bill, the new law that's coming into effect, while we have Robert here on the line answering questions with regards to the emergency declaration from the last week and the up to $2 million. But as we can see, it's an ever-evolving process now with this new package that will allow you to take a larger loan that also has loan forgiveness aspect to it. So, and Robert, what's the website that you gave out earlier?
Yes, sir. I'll do better than that. So it's NYSBDC, November Yankee Sierra Bravo Delta Charlie O-R-G. That is the state website for the small business development centers. If you go there, you can click on the one closest to you. I'll give you the phone numbers of the SBDC closest to us as we speak. For Suffolk County, most of anyway, you have the phone number is area code 631-632-9070, located on the campus of Stony Brook. And then you have in Farmingdale at SUNY, you have area code 934-420-2888. You also have SCORE, Long Island, spelled out one word, .score, SCORE.org. And those folks can help you coordinate benefits from all the different sources, because the state will probably come out with something and you'll be thinking, which one do I go for, in what order? They will really help you sort it out.
Great. That's a lot of good information. And we'll go to our next caller, Beth.
I'm a president of a chamber of commerce, so my question's a little different. First of all, I want to disseminate all this information to my members, which is huge amount of information here. Is there a fact sheet or something that possibly, Lee, you could have your office come up with, that we could actually email to all of our members? And then I'm worried about the members that aren't, the businesses that are not members of a chamber, that they're not going to even know where to turn. How are they going to be contacted with all this type of information?
So just now, the last caller with Rita, I had mentioned that we had a virus response page on our website, and I just received a text from my communications director, and she said we're going to create a special page on the website just for small businesses. So what we'll do is we'll include this information from this call, and we'll send you the link. Anyone on this call, if you want to email me at congressmanzeldin1@mail.house.gov, as soon as that link is available, we'll email it out to everyone with a summary. Now, this bill is passed the Senate last night. It's scheduled for a vote tomorrow morning in the House. If it passes the House tomorrow morning, then it will go right to the White House in order to get signed. And we're going into a weekend here, but over the course of these next few days, I would imagine we'll get more clarity on certain questions that aren't specific in the bill as far as how something will get implemented. You know, that's where you'll see the Department of Treasury. That's where you'll see the SBA especially playing an important role in pushing out the guidance. So what we'll do at that point, as we see a frequently asked question page populate on, say, the SBA website, we'll add that to that page that I just mentioned, Beth. So we'll keep that updated with other sources that we come in contact with. And I just wanted to, as I mentioned, want to recap for everyone just some guidance, a summary on this new bill that's coming out. It's called a paycheck protection loan. It's a 4% interest rate loan, 100% guaranteed by the SBA. The people who will be eligible will include, the entities that will be eligible include businesses and 501c3s with less than 500 employees. As I pointed out a couple of times on the call, as far as where you can obtain this loan, it will be any existing SBA lender and any lender that's brought into the program through the Department of Treasury. And the guidance that I've been asked to share with constituents is that you speak to your preferred financial lender to see if they qualify. You can use the loan for payroll costs, group health care plan benefits, employee salaries, interest on a mortgage obligation, rent, utilities, and any debt obligations occurred before February 15th, 2020. far as how much you can borrow, the maximum amount is going to be the lesser of $10 million or 2.5 times the average monthly payroll based on last year's payroll. As far as how long it will take to receive the money, the SBA has authorized lenders to process, close, and service loans without SBA approval, which gives you the means to invest in your business immediately. But what if you can't pay back? Well, first, all payment on principal, interest, and fees will be automatically deferred for 6 months. Second, for businesses that retain their staff up until June 30th, 2020, this loan will be forgiven. And if you remember from earlier in the call when I said that the staff needs to be retained, it's based on head count. So if there's an employee who leaves, you can replace that employee with a new employee. So it can include new employees and returning employees. Can the entire loan be forgiven? The answer is no. Only the portion of the loan used to cover payroll costs, mortgage interest, rent, and utilities can be forgiven. And in addition, only 8 weeks can be forgiven. Again, my website is zeldin.house.gov. My email is congressmanzeldin1@mail.house.gov. My phone number is 631-289-1097. We had a large amount of local small business owners sign up for the Small Business Telephone Town Hall. This is something that I believe, if it's okay with you, Robert, I'd like to do again as we get a little bit more clarity on the implementation process for this new bill that's working through Congress. As we know more about how it's being implemented, we'll get additional questions from business owners navigating the process, and it's my goal to make sure that all the small business owners in New York 1 have not only all the information that you need, but also all the resources you need to come out on the other end of this outbreak where your business is open, and that your employees have jobs, and that you are not just as successful as you were before, but that you're growing stronger than you've ever been. And right now it's a trying time for our country. New York City, Long Island, our area is the epicenter of the entire country. We have hospitals, staff, first responders, law enforcement, and many others who are exposing themselves to coronavirus, and they're exposing themselves to the risk because they want to take care of their community. They love their job. And I'll share one thought because it's something that really paints a picture of just how much they believe in what they're doing for all of us. Last Wednesday, when I was at the opening of the Stony Brook University drive-through testing site, as the first shift from Lane 1 was coming out, they were finishing their first several hours of testing last Wednesday. Many of the Stony Brook medical staff, doctors, nurses, and others were lined up. They were at a barricade about 20 or 30 feet away from Lane 1, and they were waiting there just to applaud and cheer for their colleagues coming out from Lane 1. And they believe in what they're doing. There are many ways to serve our country. We see as a hospital center from Fort Campbell, Kentucky, headed up to New York today, whether it's in our military, it's in our hospitals, it's our police, it's our firefighters, our EMTs, and so many more. Our truckers, our farmers, our grocery store workers, our teachers, the list goes on. And I see it with my daughters who are 13, how their teachers are scheduling Zoom classes just to with this new technology, this new video technology, where they can interact with students. So for everyone out there doing their part, it means a lot. For all of you small business owners, it is so vitally important that all of you are able to get through this moment in time, and that you're coming out of this with your small business intact, and that dream, that sweat equity that you put into your business, the leap that you took, where it feels like the first time that you start a small business, like you're jumping off a cliff. It's filled with unknowns. You don't know what's on the other side. you've poured your heart and soul into your business, and this moment should not result in the end of that dream. It should just be start of a new chapter of it, and that's why this call was important. I appreciate you being on, Robert. Anything that your branch can do to help all these applicants to be able to get their money as quickly as possible would be much appreciated. That's my ask on behalf of all of them, and hopefully, if that's okay, Robert, I'd love to be able to do the call for them once we get just a little bit further down the road.
I am eager for that and honored to be asked. Absolutely.
Excellent. Now, for everybody who is on this call, there are a lot of questions that still have to be asked. There are several dozen questions people want to be able to ask of whether it's you, Robert, or myself. I would just ask all of you with questions, if you hadn't had the opportunity to ask your question, to stay on the line. You will be able to leave a message, and we will get back to each and every one of you. Again, if you have any questions, you can call my office at 631-289-1097. I'll also be sending an email to you later today to the email that you provided this afternoon's call with important information and links we covered throughout this call. I appreciate all of you participating in this afternoon's Small Business Telephone Town Hall. It's an honor to represent all of you in our nation's capital, and I am confident that we will emerge from this coronavirus outbreak stronger than we were before, and the only way to do that, the only way that it's possible is with the backbone of our nation's workforce. 50% of our nation's workforce are small businesses to all be thriving on the other end. So thank you again for participating, and we'll also send you a notice before the next Small Business Telephone Town Hall. Thank you.